Hello everyone, and welcome to my YNR Daily Update channel. Can you ever really forgive the person who tried to destroy your life, just because they were the one who ended up saving it? Think about that for a second. It is a question that messes with your head, right? Well, that is exactly the nightmare Nick Newman is living through right now on The Young and the Restless. We are looking at a situation that has completely flipped the script in Genoa City. The lines between the hero and the villain haven't just been blurred. They have been totally erased. We have to talk about what happened at the Newman ranch and that high-stakes showdown in the weight room. Is Matt Clark, a man who has spent years being a literal monster, actually the only person who can save Nick from himself? Or are we watching the ultimate long con in a game where the stakes are life and death? The whole scene in Phyllis's office was like something out of a fever dream. We saw Nick Newman, who is usually the strong and steady good son, just collapse. His family had to watch in total horror as he stopped breathing. This wasn't just a random health scare. It was the absolute peak of a secret, dangerous addiction that has been eating Nick alive from the inside out. The funny thing is, this whole mess happened because Nick was pushed to an emotional edge he never had to deal with before. The head writer, Josh Griffith, pointed out that this was a cause and effect situation. The return of Matt Clark was the spark. It led to a car accident, a stay in the hospital, and then a reliance on pills that Nick just couldn't turn off. It is honestly a brilliant, if heartbreaking, way to write this. It strips away Nick's armor. It forces him into a new arena where he is totally vulnerable. We aren't just watching a medical emergency. We are watching the psychological breakdown of the Newman legacy, but here is the part that really gets me. When Nick stopped breathing, it wasn't Victor's billions or the paramedics that saved him. It was Matt Clark's hands on his chest. Matt didn't just stand there and watch his enemy die. He jumped into action. He knew exactly what was happening and performed the CPR that kept Nick alive. Now, you have to ask yourself, why? Why did Matt do it? This is the huge question hanging over everything. If he really has amnesia, he was just acting on a basic human instinct. He didn't know he was supposed to hate the guy he was saving. But that creates a massive moral problem for everyone else. If your worst enemy saves you when they don't even know they are your enemy, does that reset the clock? Does that make up for everything else? Internally, Nick has to be drowning in shame. Imagine waking up and finding out the man you call a monster is the only reason you are still drawing breath. He is feeling a new awareness of how fragile life really is. But he is also feeling the sting of being indebted to a guy like Matt. I see this as the show really changing how we think about rock bottom. Griffith said this overdose isn't actually rock bottom for Nick. He doesn't want it to be that easy. He says there are different levels of rock bottom. Usually, we think of rock bottom as the end, but for Nick, it is just a different kind of struggle. He won his life back, but in the most humiliating way possible. It's a unique take because the hero is facing his darkest self while the villain is suddenly looking like a saint, even if he didn't ask to. Now, we have to talk about Victor. Because, honestly, Victor is going to Victor. The second Nick was stable, Victor went right back to his old ways. Instead of being humbled by the fact that he couldn't save his own son, he turned the whole thing into a power play. He immediately called his security and moved Matt to a secure location on the ranch. He couldn't let the police handle it. He couldn't let the doctors handle it. Victor needs to be the one holding the keys. He needs Matt where he can see him, turning gratitude and fear into leverage. It is a control mechanism, plain and simple. He is trying to fix his own feelings of helplessness by dominating everyone else. The family gathering at the ranch was a perfect look at how dysfunctional the Newmans really are. You had Nikki, Sharon, Victoria, and Adam all circling Nick like he was a wounded animal. Nikki, who has her own history with addiction, is coming from a place of irrational anger. She is projecting her own past traumas onto her son, which just makes the air at the ranch feel even more suffocating. But then you have Adam. This is the big surprise. This crisis actually seems to have brought the brothers closer. Adam finally saw Nick as a human being, and Nick is starting to feel a respect for Adam that just wasn't there before. Adam realized that, even though he feels like an outcast, he actually loves his brother. They are in a place where they can finally be actual brothers. It is a rare moment of real connection in a family that usually runs on suspicion. Let's look at Matt Clark's amnesia from a different angle. What if this isn't a trick? What if his mind literally can't handle the monster people say he used to be? He is piecing together fractured memories and trying to understand why everyone looks at him with such hate. He is basically a blank slate right now. But the Newmans are so desperate to write his old sins back onto him. I honestly don't agree with Sharon when she says Matt seems harmless. Just because he isn't being mean right now doesn't mean the potential for destruction isn't there. Sharon is being a bit naive because she wants the nightmare to be over. She wants to believe in a miracle that might not even be real. Then we get to the big moment. The face-to-face in the weight room. Nick, who is still physically weak from a literal overdose, walks in to confront Matt alone. The setting is so symbolic. A weight room is a place for strength, and that is exactly what Nick feels like he has lost. He went there because he needed to see Matt. He wanted to find that snark and spite that Sharon said was gone. He needs Matt to be the villain so he can feel like the hero again. But Matt throws him for a loop. He asks if one good deed can cancel out the past. He is attacking Nick's entire moral foundation without even trying. He is challenging the idea of justice. How do you punish a man who doesn't even remember what he did? Matt is wincing. He is having flashes of a life he doesn't recognize. There is real fear there, but also this weird, sincere desire to help that is totally throwing Nick off. Matt even tells Nick that if he wants to kill him, he won't stop him. He says he hopes saving Nick brings him one step closer to saving my own soul. That is a huge psychological weapon to use against a guy like Nick. It is a form of submission that Nick doesn't know how to handle. I think Nick hitting that punching bag was him trying to beat back his own weakness. Every hit was a bit of the fury he couldn't unleash on the real Matt, because Matt wasn't fighting back. The punching bag was a stand-in for Nick's own self-hatred. When he finally grabs Matt and puts a fist in his face, he is trying to force a reaction. He wants the monster to come back so the world makes sense again. Honestly, I think Nick threatening to end Matt shows just how much he is struggling. A real hero doesn't execute a man who saved his life, especially when that man isn't being aggressive. If Nick actually goes through with it, he becomes exactly what he says he hates. He is in a trauma loop. He wants justice, but he is realizing there is no justice if the person isn't a conscious participant. By threatening Matt alone, Nick is trying to bypass the whole family debate and find some kind of personal peace that his brain is telling him is only possible through violence. The tension in that weight room is at a breaking point, while downstairs, the rest of the family has no idea how close Nick is to the edge. Victor is playing chess with Adam, admitting he would have given 1,000 empires to bring Nick back. It is so ironic. Victor is talking about how much he values Nick's life, while Nick is upstairs risking his entire soul by threatening Matt. Things are going to get much worse before they get better. If Nick doesn't walk away, this whole experience is just going to drive his addiction deeper. He is going to stumble again because the ranch has become a pressure cooker. I'm predicting that Matt's memories will start coming back at the worst possible time. Probably when Nick is vulnerable again. We are also going to see a huge fallout between Victor and Nikki. She knows that Victor's obsession with revenge is what put Nick in this spot to begin with. This isn't just about Matt Clark anymore. It is about the Newmans finally having to face the earth-shattering results of their own internal wars. To really understand this, you have to look at how Nick's overdose has changed the family dynamic. He didn't just have a slip-up. He collapsed and died for a moment. That is a massive weight to carry. It changes everything. His addiction is a metaphor for his loss of control. For years, he tried to be the independent one, but this proved he is just as human as anyone else. And it happened in Phyllis's office, which just shows how his personal life has bled into everything. Phyllis is in a weird spot, too. She helped Matt save Nick. She is starting to become Matt's most unexpected ally because she saw that genuine desire to help firsthand. She is feeling defensive of him because she saw a side of him the Newmans refused to look at. Her presence at the ranch, wanting to see Nick, just adds more layers of horror and pathos to the whole situation. I see Phyllis and Matt as the outsiders who are currently the ones holding things together, which is a total flip. Usually, the Newmans are the elite, and people like Matt and Phyllis are the ones causing trouble. Now, the troublemakers are the ones doing the medical work while the elite family is just scrambling. I thought Victoria's reaction was actually pretty harsh. Asking Nick "what the hell were you thinking" shows that even when death is on the table, the Newmans struggle with empathy. They see addiction as a mistake or a failure of judgment, not as a disease. That kind of thinking probably mirrors how Nick feels about himself, which just makes his self-loathing worse. There is also something sad about the way Victor and Adam were at that chessboard. Chess is a game of moves and strategy. Victor can't just be a dad. He has to be a king. Even his love is expressed in terms of empires. He can't just say he loves his son. He has to put a price on it. It is a transactional way of looking at love that has clearly messed with his kids' heads for a long time. The ethics of this amnesia thing are really fascinating. Adam wants to deal with Matt right away, probably in some dark Newman way. Victoria wants to call the cops. But Nick is stuck in the middle, trying to figure out what justice actually looks like. If Matt doesn't remember Las Vegas, is he the same guy? If you punish a man for something he has no memory of, is that justice or just revenge? Nick is struggling because if he kills Matt now, he is killing the guy who saved him, not the guy who tried to blow him up. The justice he wants is in the past, but the reality he is in is the present. Matt's reaction in the weight room was a really powerful beat. It showed a man who is vulnerable. He is feeling the weight of these horrible things he's been told he did, and it has left him shaken. He is looking to save his own soul, and he seems to think that letting Nick hurt him might be the only way to do it. I see it as Matt capturing lightning in a bottle with this amnesia. Whether it is real or fake, it gave him a free pass that Nick wants to take away. It is a unique angle because the villain is using his own weakness as his best shield. He is telling Nick to go ahead and kill him, knowing Nick's own conscience is the only thing protecting him. I really think Nick should just walk away and focus on his recovery. Every time he engages with Matt, he is just feeding into the drama and conflict that led him to the pills in the first place. He needs a new awareness of his own life. Victor is the one who should be explaining why he brought this guy back into their lives, but instead, Nick is the one feeling the heat. The irrational anger from the family is just their way of dealing with the horror of it all. If they can blame Nick, they don't have to look at how the family dynamic contributed to his spiral. It is an earth-shattering realization that the Newman name doesn't protect you from being human. By focusing on Matt, they can keep avoiding the real threat in the room, which is the addiction. Victor's need to dominate is going to be his downfall eventually. He is already hurting Nick with this obsession for revenge. Even when he is sitting at that chessboard, he is thinking about how to keep control over Matt. This whole thing is going to expose Victor's biggest weakness. He can't stop treating family problems like corporate takeovers. He is turning gratitude and fear into a battle for power. This is exactly what Nicky is afraid of. Nick is also feeling defensive of his son Noah, and he is making sure people know there is nothing going on between him and Sienna. Even when he is falling apart, Nick is trying to be a good dad. He is trying to hold on to the relationships he has left. I look at that weight room scene as Nick trying to unleash his fury where it's safe. He is trying to be the authority in his own life again. But by grabbing Matt, he is actually proving that Matt still has the power. Matt doesn't have to fight to win. He just has to be the one who doesn't blink. I think the legal twist where Matt walked free was where this all started. It left the Newmans scrambling and created the danger that pushed Nick toward the pills. Victor's need for revenge is a drug just as dangerous as anything Nick was taking. Until Victor deals with his own ego, this cycle is never going to stop. Matt's desire to help might be the most shocking part of this whole story. If he really has amnesia, he is going through a massive personality shift. But for the Newmans, who are used to betrayals and fights, this harmless behavior is actually more unsettling than if he were threatening them. They don't know how to fight someone who is being genuinely kind. It is a psychological stalemate that Nick is trying to break with his fists. We are seeing a perfect storm of drama here. From the overdose to Victor's moves to the weight room fight, every scene is packed with commentary on what it means to be human. This isn't just about whether Nick will kill Matt Clark. It is about whether Nick can stop the fight inside himself. It is about the fragility of life and the perspective you get when you almost lose everything. I'm betting that Adam and Nick's new relationship is going to be the only thing that keeps the family from totally falling apart. Victor's need for control is probably going to drive Nikki and Victoria away, leaving the brothers as the only stable thing left in Genoa City. This whole storyline is just getting started, and with Nick unleashing his fury, we are definitely in for a wild ride. But I want to hear what you think. Do you believe Matt Clark really has amnesia, or is he playing a massive game to get inside the Newmans' heads? And if someone who destroyed your life saves your life while they have no memory of what they did, do they deserve to be punished or forgiven? It's a tough one, right? When you look at stories like this, it reminds me of some of the most intense moments in pro wrestling, like when Matt Cardona went into the hardcore indies and took the belt from Nick Gage. It's that same feeling of shoot versus work and reality versus fiction. People were throwing things, the reaction was intense, and it captured lightning in a bottle. That is exactly what is happening here. It's that old-school storytelling that has the fans believing in it hook, line and sinker. It's about the buzz and the real emotion tied up in the narrative. Whether it's a death match in a ring or a life-and-death struggle in a Genoa City weight room, the feeling is the same. It's that perfect storm where everything comes together just right. You also have to think about the anger issues we see in reality TV, like on Love is Blind. People were talking about a contestant named Matt and how he would bulldoze people in arguments or how he would escalate quickly. It's that same kind of loop cycle of control and grudges. It makes people uncomfortable to watch because it feels so real. We see that same energy in Matt Clark's history. Even if he doesn't remember it, that history of cornering people and reacting in anger is part of who he was. It's why the Newmans are so terrified of him, even when he seems harmless. They've seen the red flags before, and speaking of the elite, we've seen how friendships in wrestling can be broken apart and fused together again, like with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. Those bonds go deeper than just being coworkers. It's about pride, hubris, and wanting to be the best. When Matt and Nick Jackson were frustrated with Kenny, it created a massive fissure in their group. It's the same thing with the Newmans. Their pride and their ego-driven feuds are constantly driving wedges between them. But in the end, it's about that handshake or that hug that tries to fix the fractured house. We are seeing Nick and Adam try to find that same kind of resolution, but with Victor in the middle, it's always going to be complicated. The fragility of life is a theme that hits hard, whether it's a wrestler whose body runs out of gas before his heart does, or Nick Newman fighting for his life in an office. It's about that burning desire to be the one on top, to be the one holding the championship or the one in control of the family. But sometimes, you have to take a hero's exit and realize that you can't win every battle. Nick is trying to figure out if he is the hero or if he is just another person spiraling out of control. He is looking for justice, but he is finding out that justice is a lot more complicated than just a fist in the face. So, what do you think? Is Nick Newman about to cross a line he can't come back from? Or is he going to find a way to save his own soul, like Matt Clark is trying to do? This storyline is giving us one shocking moment after another, and I am here for all of it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the drama from Genoa City. We are going to be breaking down every move, every power play, and every earth-shattering revelation. Smash the like button if you're rooting for Nick to get the help he needs, and leave a comment below with your wildest theories. Does Matt really have amnesia? Is Victor the true villain? Let's talk about it in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one for more recaps and scoops.